As writers, I think we've all been here before. We get a great idea, we start writing, we write thousands of words, we're so excited, we're writing every single day, we have huge goals, huge aspirations, we can already see the book in print on a shelf, and then we stop. We've all been there before, and today's video is just about how to get back on the horse when you've fallen off. I started my new novel back in July when I started this channel as an opportunity to sort of keep myself accountable. And I started with a challenge, try to write 1,000 words every day for a week, and then see how it goes. And July went pretty well, even after that first week. I wasn't writing 1,000 words a day, but I was certainly writing consistently. I was having a ton of fun and developing my characters and my story. And then I stopped. And part of it was vacation ended and I went back to work and was busy, but really it was me not making time to write. I was doing some other creative endeavors and doing some other things, which is great, but I wasn't writing, and that is the number one thing I want to be doing right now creatively. But today I want to talk about probably, I think, my number one reason is that I did discover that I am not a pantser. If you don't know, typically novelists kind of line up into one of two camps. You're either a pantser or a plotter. A pantser is a person who writes by the seat of their pants, who sits down in front of a screen or a notebook and just types or writes away. Doesn't know where the story's going, builds it as they go. Everything is a surprise as they discover it. And a plotter is someone who builds out an outline and follows that as they create their narrative. I don't think that either is better or worse. I think that there are a lot of things that can happen as a result of pantsing. However, I couldn't do it because I need to know that I'm being productive. I have a very, very limited amount of time to do all of the fun things that I like to do. And so when I'm doing those, I need to feel like it's productive. And that may not be how you operate. That's totally fine. And I'm not trying to inhibit creativity by feeling like you need to have productivity in it. That's not it. It's just that I don't have enough time to waste. I want to get my stories told and I want to do all the other stuff that I do, and so I need to prioritize that. So when I write, I need it to be efficient and productive. What I was finding during pantsing is that I was just writing because I knew the next chapter had to go somewhere and I was just figuring it out. And it actually was really fun, and it actually led to some really cool things in discovery. I would not have found out some things about my character had I not been willing to just explore and start writing some things. So I think maybe I'm not full pantser, because creating a basic premise and starting with my character in action yielded some awesome results that I will use. There's a lot there that I really liked. However, as I started writing more and more words, I was feeling like, where's the story going? What's going to happen? And again, maybe that's a totally comfortable position to be in if you're a normal pantser. Stephen King writes that way, he just writes, and then eventually he's like, all right, here's a story, and then edits it. I can't do it. I need to know where my story's going. So I think what I'll do in the future, and what I've done with this novel, is I got to a point where I had enough being generated, I was excited enough about the story, and I had discovered a few things through pantsing out a couple of chapters that then the work I needed to do was to sit down and actually figure out my plot, figure out what's going to happen in my story. So to work through my outline, what I needed to do was kind of get detailed, really kind of look at, now I've created these characters and I had a lot of questions, but a lot of it was just working in my head, working in this headspace, and I wanted to put it on paper. So I just started asking myself questions about my story. And these questions came from a variety of sources, and I was just trying to answer them as best I can. So I wanted to start building an outline. And I got out my normal beat sheet, which is an adaptation of Blake Snyder's Save the Cat and other screenwriting books that I've read. Kind of started answering, okay, well, what's my Act 1 look like? But even with that, I was starting to feel a little constrained. And so what was really, really helpful is, instead of just trying to fill out, what is this? What is my catalyst? What is the break into two? What's the B story? Instead of getting into all of that, I had some ideas for story. The story stuff happens naturally in your mind. I needed to write it out. And so what I did is I sat down during a writing session, and all I did was basically write out my internal monologue of the story. Here's what happens, and because of that, this happens, because of this happens, and as I'm writing it, I'm like, and maybe this has to happen, or, oh, and this could happen, oh, I think I like this. And I'm just literally talking out loud, writing it in as fast as I could type, which I type pretty quick, so that helps. But really, it was about just kind of getting those thoughts out, just a brain dump. Every single thing I can think of about this story written out. put it on paper instead of it just existing up here, because I might forget. First of all, that's a big problem, but also having it there, I can start to work with it and then start to ask more questions. Oh, that's interesting, but then what about this and what about this? And I'm just asking myself these questions, and I'm just trying to write down all of the list of ideas that I've had so far for the book. I have some plot ideas, but I had a lot of questions too. I had no idea what happens once they go into the story world, and it was important that I start to figure that out before I just kind of kept writing away, because you're going to want to set up some runners. You're going to want to set up some things that in Act 1 start getting paid off in Act 2 and 3 because they exist. And if you just wait until you just magically discover them in Act 2, then you have to go back and add them, which is not going to be a bad thing. In a rewrite, that's an important step of a rewrite, but I like the idea that I could know kind of the gist of what's happening before I start actually writing those pages. And the reality is, the whole time you're writing anyway, that whole time when you're working through that story, all of that is writing, where you're coming up with what happens next and why does this happen, and this happens because. All of that is writing. It's just not necessarily the pages. My goal is to finish this book by Christmas. That is really my goal, is to give my son the first draft of this book for his Christmas gift. And it'll be a first draft, so I don't know. But I want to at least try and get that done for him, and so I really needed to get serious about getting these pages done. November, obviously, is National Novel Writing Month, and so I figured I would get cranked back up in October, be ready to go in November, finish in December, and then give him the book as best I can. I don't know that I'm going to hit that goal, but it is absolutely my focus right now, is trying to finish that. I've written every day this month. Some days it's 150 words. Some days it's been upwards almost 1,000, right around 1,000. Not all of them have been actual words in the chapters, and that I've been okay with that. I let go of the idea that only writing words in my draft is what mattered for my word count. I needed to feel like I was working even if I wasn't able to get words written down in the actual narrative. And obviously that's all that counts in the end, is writing the story out and getting it done. But doing the work now and writing those plot points is super, super important. So the thing that I've added, I think, the most to my approach through this entire process, though, is that because I've developed my characters a little more in depth than I normally would, I am asking character questions to solve the plot questions. And that's, I think, really, really going to pay off. These characters now exist in a much more concrete way to me, and I'm not even done developing them. Even those character descriptions I'm adding and writing it in the same way. I don't know why he feels this way, but he does. It's important that he does. And I let myself know that, like, I have to have an answer eventually for Ryan's angry all the time. And I don't yet. And I don't want it to be cliched or simple, but I know that he has to be kind of this, like, he has this anger thing. I wrote that. I liked it. I appreciate that about his character. We can do stuff with that later down the line, but I don't know why he's angry. So I get to create that. And as I develop the plot and other things in the plot start coming up, then maybe I bounce back and go, oh, that's why, oh, that makes sense. That's why Ryan's mad. That's that. Oh, yeah, I got it. Or that's why Evan's this or whatever. And I'm really excited about that part of it. That part is exciting. As a writer, it's exciting to be creating and to be having fun on that level. The draft itself is going to take care of itself as I get these things done. So again, I just wanted to make this video as a quick update for those of you who are paying attention to my writing. I am writing again. I'm back at it. And this video is simultaneously encouragement to myself and to you to just keep plugging away. Sometimes you are hitting those goals, you're doing everything you want to do, and it's awesome. And sometimes you look down and you didn't write for 3 weeks, 4 weeks. It's okay. Get back on the horse, find a way, get into plotting, get into character, do whatever you need to do. Every word you write is one closer to your goal. And so I'm just going to keep plugging away. I encourage you to do the same, but I did want to update everyone. I have been writing, just not as much as I wanted to this last month and a half, but this month, back in October, feels like I'm ready to go and hopefully finish up by December, but I'll keep updates going as we go. See you later.